Well, good morning. You know, I stayed up too late last night again. Bad on me, but hey, you know, if I gave you reasons and excuses why I'd stayed up too late, I'd probably blame it on John Statmiller or maybe Farron Shope. You see, the alternate media has moved to a Saturday night time slot, and he had a special show on, and, well, it was very interesting. See, Frank in New York, he stirred up a bit of hubbub and so forth by poking Alex Jones into bringing David Duke on, and, well, anyways, you're listening to the Republic of Texas radio show. I'm your host, Steve O'Brien, waking up, drinking some coffee, and, you know, we've got a busy schedule going on, so I'll just dive right into it. But as far as the lead-in, have a look at the archives last night for the alternate media with Farron. It's a very interesting show. Lots of interesting tidbits in there. You can go to thealternatemedia.com or republicbroadcasting.com to deal with that. It's about all I have time to say. But, yeah. Today is, Sunday, August the 23rd already. Man, it's almost over. And I was looking back and I found out that this show is, well, it's had other names and it actually existed on multiple platforms. We Resistors Radio, we were doing that since about a year ago, a little longer than a year ago. We ran under the show title Free Texas. Me and Frankie Nieto, you've heard him talk before, you know, he's all over the place. He's another person that cares from here in Fredericksburg. But it's been a long time, and initially I really didn't know that we had this much to talk about. But the more I go into this, my God, there are rabbit trails about, you know, Texas independence that continues to the left, to the right, below me, above me, whatever. You know, I haven't even begun to explore a lot of them. By the way, Frankie Nieto will be joining us next week as we start ramping up, the coverage of the Susie Kammock trial, right? The pretrial is set for September the 1st, and we're going to go in there and see what's going on. And if you don't know anything about that, I tell you that, yeah, come on back next week and we'll get you up to speed. We're going to have to keep going over there. And I've got a couple avenues to deal with that. Tonight, that's funny. This morning, we're going to be talking to Chuck Smith. Chuck Smith is, well, a lot of things, right? He's a person that cares, and I initially kind of, knew him as the Chicken Man of Crowley, Texas. See, he's one of those guys that, the American Planning Association was talking about how, they're coming into the world and, they don't take the two choices that, we give them. He takes his own choice, right? He went over to the city council meeting and let them know that he was not, they were not alone and they were being listened to and recorded. And Chuck Smith kind of went on from there. He's the owner of, We Resistors Radio, if owner is correct, maybe the creator, the head designer, the main whatever, very instrumental. He's changed the world, kind of like, Frank in North Carolina. Yeah, he changed the world too. That was interesting. So Chuck's going to be joining us, but we also have Billy Ford coming on the second hour, and I'm bringing back on Peter Richards from last week because, those guys over at Freedom Texas, they keep making their moves, and the Republic of Texas and Freedom Texas kind of came together on Friday, and they had a little bit of chit-chat about this and that, and I don't know exactly what they talked about. So Billy Ford and Peter Richards, they'll be joining us to tell us what is the Republic of Texas and Freedom Texas going to be, what happened? Are we talking this thing they call the Free Texas Alliance and whatnot? I don't know. Chuck Smith, he's going to be here just in a few seconds. I don't know if I need to do too much of a lead in for him. He's really proper, how do we call him? Smith Fix. Chuck Smith Flick, Smith Fix Smith. That's kind of who he is. He's had a lot of different things going on. I'm not going to talk about him anymore. Let's just do it. Hey, Chuck, are you there this morning?
I am here.
Okay, well, thank you for joining me.
Fortunately, your program director called me and woke me up and said, you're going to be on air in 15 minutes. And I checked my text messages, my friend, you said 9. So I, oh my goodness, jump up, throw the dogs outside, get some coffee in me. Good morning, America.
Well, good morning, Chuck. Sorry about the confusion.
No problem. I was just being lazy. I'd been awake, but I was just being lazy. Man, you've been busy. You have been a busy guy.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, I've been, I was listening to your lead in and got to thinking about how long you've been doing this. I mean, we started out, or you got me on doing radio. Wow, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. How long was it that I went to jail? You got to be in jail one time.
I know the things that we've covered, huh?
Yeah, we have been into all kinds of stuff.
I know, but it's important. It's really important.
Well, you've really gotten into the Republic of Texas, and I was thinking about it last night, and I have really not been following that. As you know, I'm kind of taking a vacation for the summer from the fight. And after 6 years and a whole bunch of money, I was like, okay, I need a break. And but I got to think about it last night, and I want you to bring me up to speed. Again, and for the archives, so whenever I post this for folks to listen to this conversation,
sure.
Down here in Texas that I know that have not been following you, bring us up to speed on what's going on with the secession movement in Texas. I'm going to interview you. How's that?
No. Well, let's go ahead and play with that, because my focus kind of today is to try to tell you that restoring Texas as a republic is more important to the United States than, because you can't really restore the United States. There's too many different things, and we can fall back and look at Texas and say Texas should be free. But if we were to answer your first question, where does it start? People will argue that, right? They'll argue about, Texas went ahead and became a nation, then there were some shenanigans, and then it became part of the United States for this and that, and there was a couple attempts to leave the United States, and then there was a long period of time, from 1846, up till, I guess it restarts, and there's, with Richard McLaren, somewhere around 1994. Now, Richard McLaren, you remember 94 was a totally different time, Chuck, and communications were going around through the gun shows and mailing pamphlets and stuff like that. So everybody was disillusioned with the country in the 90s, and so they were reading these little pamphlets and thingies, and Richard McLaren caught the, attention of a lot of people in Texas. And he started gathering groups of people in Texas that were, hundreds and, thousands of people would show up. That's pretty incredible to be able to draw 1,000 people. Well, McLaren went, down one rabbit trail, and he went away from necessarily the independent Texas trail, from what I know. And it went into more of that legalese stuff, trying to produce a paper document to get money from the United States and this and that. And all of a sudden the Rangers come in, bang, 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 shoot them up. Richard McLaren goes to jail. Some people died, right? But then there were still these thousands of people that cared about free and independent Texas. Now that went on, right? So there was this time, and they were also demonizing the word patriot. They were demonizing militia, the word. They were demonizing everything, right? And Richard McLaren really was kind of like the crux of the time. Now you move forward and you have this, so Richard McLaren reformed what was called the Republic of Texas, right? And his documents, right? I know people that have studied his documents, his writings, and all of his notes and things like that. Those are still around because, you don't have thousands of people and talk to people about stuff without, finding that. Those documents are still around. Now, he figured out this one thing that, and maybe I'm getting too technical here, that the last Congress that the Republic of Texas had was the 9th Congress, and the 10th Congress was elected, but the president of the Republic of Texas, his name was Anson Jones. He just told Congress, the House people and the Senate, hey, don't come to work. We just, joined the United States. Don't even do it, man. It's not, but he couldn't do it legally, but well, they don't follow the law. Okay. So we're going forward, and you got Richard McLaren coming up with that idea. Well, let's just start the 10th Congress and go forward. That started in 97 or 94 through 97. In the 2000s, there were various permutations of the Republic of Texas and the current Republic of Texas that reassembled. And there was a bunch of different little disparate ones before 2005. And 2005, the group that we call the Republic of Texas, right? They're a governmental organization. They reassembled in 2005 and said, hey, we're the 10th Congress. We're starting now. Bam, here we go. So 2005, they kicked this thing off. So today, well, actually next month on the 7th, there'll be elections for the 20th Congress. They've been going for 10 years. First thing they did was they started the process constitutionally, the Republic of Texas, to amend the Constitution to deal with a bunch of the inadequacies of the 1836 Constitution that Texas had when it was a nation. And so they modified that, morphed that, trying to learn how to be Texas. There's other groups, though, on the side, Chuck. There's the Texas Nationals, right? Texas Nationals have a different strategy on trying to achieve, Texas independence. And I, only see them from afar. And you can actually, we'll go back to them here in a bit. But they've existed for, well, man, I know he came on the scene sometime after Richard McLaren. Daniel Miller was the person that is the Texas Nationals or part of the Texas, whatever. I don't know. I need to fill in the blanks on that story. It's an interesting one. But our latest group, the ones that I can tell you about, man, is Freedom Texas. Now, Freedom Texas is probably how do we say that? The most energetic, the quickest moving Texas independence group. They're more about stimulating the hearts and minds of people and telling them, hey, it's time, man, it's time. They're over at freedomtexas.org. And so they're kind of like, they can move. So I just took a whole bunch of time, and you're supposed to be talking, man. You've heard all this from me, right?
Well, no. The reason I was wanting to get a little bit of background is because there's a lot of folks, whenever they hear Republic of Texas, they still hark back to the illegalities that were done, and the Texas Rangers getting involved and all of that. So there's that. Still people thinking, okay, well,
right,
that was just a bunch
stigma.
of crazies. Where now there's several organizations. Are these guys coming together at all? I know how hard it is to herd cats in the liberty movement. Getting these organizations to work together, I'm assuming, is difficult.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Freedom Texas was born from the Texas Nationals, right? And when I say born, it was kind of like originally Paul Kiefer or Keffer. I'm sorry, Paul, if I don't get your name right. And Phil Robbins, they were part of the Texas Nationals, and that didn't work out too well, and they were booted to the curb, and then they went out and, formed Freedom Texas, where, well, boom, there it goes. It's going up. And that's where we sit today. They keep growing. Now, Freedom Texas is working on, bringing all the disparate groups together. They have the same idea of restoring Texas is an independent nation, and they care about being a republic, not a democracy. And so this last Friday, we actually had the first, official meeting between the Republic of Texas. I define official because, a bunch of senators and some House reps and the president went over and met with a handful of people from Freedom Texas. The second hour, we're going to be asking asking them a lot about, how that actually went and, what they talked about and where we go from here. But yeah, there is movement on that. And Freedom Texas is really focused on grabbing all these groups and saying, hey, okay, we all stand for what we stand for, but we all come together with freeing Texas. They proposed last week, they probably proposed it some other time, but on my show they talked about what they called the Free Texas Alliance. It's kind of a loose assemblage of people, that come together, and if there's something important, they decide that they'll work together on that. And I have a lot of hope in that, and they're reaching out to these groups, and I'm sure they're trying to catalog them. I'm trying to catalog them. I'm working on the militia angle at this point and trying to understand what the heck is the militia angle. Do you know about militias in Texas?
Oh, do I? During the Mexican invasion, tried to get. I talked to a lot of the leadership in the various militias, not just in Texas but also in Arizona, and wrote them all a letter, even asking, you're trying to get a framework set up just for communications between everybody. I ended up turning it into a blog post. It's on Smithwick's blog, called "The Greater Texas Militia," just to try and get these guys to understand that they needed to communicate together. And the problem I have with the quote militias is drop the camis. Quit looking threatening to people. Bring your kids. How about have a barbecue and invite people? Act normal instead of always. The militia is its own worst enemy. Wearing camis is foolish. You gotta go down to Bass Pro, buy a camouflage button-down shirt, have it laundered and starched, put on clean jeans, and how about act like normal folk, and start, appealing to the people. We're just like you. We are you. The militia is you.
Right.
Instead, we get all these pictures on Facebook of people pointing guns at the camera, and they just destroy the movement.
Yeah, it's almost like a fashion show or some kind of a social statement. I had a hard time last week because, I have a hard time every week for some dang reason. I really applaud the people that joined the military to try to serve and protect America. Unfortunately, that's not all wars are bankers' wars, and we don't come to that understanding until too late in life. But still, you've got military folks that get out of the military and then they wrap their persona in everything in one branch, right? Saw this guy in the store, Chuck. He had Marines on the front of his shirt, and he says, "If in trouble, ask a vet." Right? And then I go out front, and I see this, gaudy Jeep all tacked out in Marines with American flags hanging over it, going like, man, that's your truck. I know that, right? So he's all about that, right? He's doing good. He's doing that. And so when I do my searches on the militias, I found a variety of different groups. One group was a lot like him, like what you were talking about, those camouflage, the fatigues. It was all, let's dress for the part. I'm the Ken doll or the G.I. Joe doll, whatever. But they drive me crazy.
Way to put it.
I don't know. I never thought. Go ahead.
You see, so many of them, and not to disparage the guys who would really like to have it work, but if we don't get more mature, if we don't get more circumspect, if the liberty movement vis-a-vis the militias don't get some really truly experienced military personnel to be the commanders, it's not going to go anywhere. Nobody who's a vet, I'm a vet, and I won't follow somebody who doesn't have the training, to in a real truly stressful situation give the proper orders, because you have to operate as a unit. And some guy with 3 years in the National Guard ain't got my vote for a commander. And they also have to be, I hate to use the word, but they also have to be politicians. They have to be able to speak well. They have to be able to communicate well. They have to be mature.
Yep, and that's the music. I think we're mature. But don't follow me. Follow somebody else. Or, well, just listen to me and Chuck. We'll be right back after a few minutes of commercials. Hang in there, guys.
This is a public announcement. Be ready to copy down a website address at the end of this message. If there was ever a doubt in our mind that radio works, it's gone. We have received such response to our $350 down, $99 a month land purchase opportunity from you that we are blown away. To keep our overhead down, we're using an internet-based sales tool so you can buy with confidence and purchase your land in New Mexico with just a click of a mouse and even pay with PayPal. But some people have said they'd like to arrange multiple parcels or have other questions. We'd be happy to talk to you. Call us toll-free at 855-LANDHO1. That's 1-855-LANDHO1. New Mexico land parcels are still available at only $350 down and $99 a month. This is beautiful land near amenities of a city, but far enough away to be private. And in as little as 1 year, you own it. $350 down, $99 a month. As the days go on, the land gets more and more limited, so visit us online at landho.tv, LANDHO.tv right now.
Dr. Joel Wallach, author of the famous health lecture, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, presents his newest book, Epigenetics. Epigenetics is required reading for the very survival of Americans, and yes, all of humanity. Modern man has bet on the wrong horse to save them from disease and pestilence. The medical system has failed us fearfully. Join the health revolution. Buy Epigenetics today and receive a free membership to purchase all the products that Dr. Joel Wallach formulated at wholesale prices and receive a free CD of Dead Doctors Don't Lie. All this for only $25 plus shipping and handling. Call 888-311-4311. That's 888-311-4311. Again, that's just $25 plus shipping and handling. And you'll receive the new book, Epigenetics, a free membership, and a free CD of Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Call 888-311-4311. That's 888-311-4311.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Don't follow me. Hey, you're listening to the Republic of Texas radio show. You should never follow anybody without knowing where they're going, knowing who they are. I have Chuck Smith on the air with me, and we were just discussing militias and the scattered nature of this thing. And this is a short segment. We got about 5 minutes to the bottom of the hour. Chuck, I saw two different little assemblages of militias out there. One was one that was creating 3-man militias, come over and we train you, we don't collect names, we don't meet in Denny's, we don't do this, we don't do that, and all they are is about training and equipping people to go home into their area and form 3-man units and disappear. Right, and then another one was kind of like what I was telling about, the Ken Barbie doll, G.I. Joe style militia, and they wanted a fee to, apply to be in there, and they wanted to know your military service record, your police service, or EMT. Which one's better? Because one's organized and one's purposely disorganized. Any thoughts?
Well, if you're talking about the first one being Oath Keepers, where they were trying to make, quote, A-teams, okay. And I mixed it up real heavy with Stuart Rhodes over that idea. Whenever I read into it and saw what they were doing, they had no OPSEC, and they were wanting to supposedly do this. Now, I had a friend named Joe Prince, and we used to joke about who had been banned from Oath Keepers the most. And I've had Stuart Rhodes on my radio show several times, and I don't know what's happened to Oath Keepers, but they're really screwed up now. They've gotten themselves tangled up in this Black Lives Matter protest stuff, and which is a very bad idea. No matter which side they stand on in that, they're going to end up in trouble. I don't know. I would say being open. If I were going to form a, quote, militia, first off, I wouldn't call it a militia because in Texas that has a specific legal definition, and it puts you under the governor. And we don't want to be under any politician's thumb in this state. So you call yourself not a militia. And I would be very open, very public, very outreaching to the people, talking about Texas, talk about the Constitution, talk about the problems we're having, talk about Israel running our nation, these kind of things to wake people up. But I would never, ever wear full camis.
Mm-hmm. That's
go to Walmart, hand out flyers, talking to people nice, staple a candy on it, a little sugar candy on it, say we're the sweetest not militia you'll ever meet. Come and join us. We're going to have a barbecue at the lake, and whoever's got a boat like me, bring a boat, and say we're going to have free tow to kids on the lake, stuff like that. So
those are some great ideas, but let me make this clear. I don't want to start a militia. I believe my definition of militia is me and my buddies, right? And I'm not trained, right? I'm a broadcaster, I'm a computer geek, right? I do my thing, but my friends are my friends, and I have a level of faith and trust and responsibility. And if things get tough, I know I can go over to them, tap them on the shoulder and say, hey man, I need your help, or they'd come to me and do that, and it doesn't have to be in this militaristic help type thing. But then you say that it's defined in Texas specifically. What are you talking about? Are you talking about the state guard?
If you call yourself a militia, now it's been, how many years now? A couple of years, a year at least, since I really looked into it. But if you call yourself a militia, they can legally conscript you. Because the name militia has a specific legal meaning in this state. So I would not call myself a militia. Come up with another term, something people will know quick enough what you're talking about. That if the balloon goes up, if this happens, why are we part of the United States? I mean,
the reason I'm talking about, they stole our gold. I got that. The reason I'm talking about militias is one of Freedom Texas. Freedom Texas is working at grabbing a whole bunch of groups that actually exist, and those are the Texas militias. And I'm like, my God, what are you going to try to round up a whole bunch of cats, right? Maybe there's a group of cats over here, a group of this and that. There's even Tea Partiers that want to free Texas. At least they're starting to come around to that point of view. And that's the music. We got a long segment coming up, folks. So hang on there, and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Republic of Texas radio show.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Recent events have shown just how vulnerable we are to deadly viruses, bacteria, and fungus. These diseases are all caused by infectious pathogens that often get the upper hand on conventional medical treatments. Now more than ever, there's a great need for a product that will help protect us. Look no further. Supernatural Silver can provide immune system support to help fight off these deadly pathogens. Supernatural Silver is a new and vastly improved type of silver solution that's safe and extremely effective against 143 types of bacteria bacteria, both forms of viruses, mold, and yeast. Supernatural Silver can be taken orally or used topically and can be used in a nebulizer or vaporizer for inhalation. With over 180 scientific studies by independent universities, hospitals, and research institutions, Supernatural Silver is a powerful weapon against disease. Go to supernaturalsilver.com and use the promo code SILVER2014 for 20% off your entire order. Give you and your loved ones a fighting chance with Supernatural Silver.
There are many water filters to choose from, but there is only one system that is consistently customer rated 5 stars as the #1 system for effective filtration of fluoride, radiation, drug residues, heavy metals, a wide range of radioisotopes, and more. Introducing the Pure Effect Ultra, the next generation water filter that also raises alkaline pH, improves antioxidant potential, and has advanced anti-radiation technology, all while using no electricity. Sold worldwide, it provides virtually instant clean water on demand. It is not made in China, and the shipping is free to all 50 states. Buy your Pure Effect Ultra today by visiting PureEffectFilters.com. or call 888-891-4821. Again, that's 888-891-4821. Or visit PureEffectFilters.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here is what people are saying.
A year ago, I was realizing that I was in serious problems with my heart. You know, I had these chest pains and so on. I realized that I had to do something and quick. I didn't want to go the medical route. So I started in doing some investigating, and somebody told me about these heart drops. I got on the heart drops prescribed dosage. Within 2 weeks, I immediately started seeing the results. This is working. I'm going to stick with it. I can't deny the fact that when I got on the heart drops initially, there was immediate help, an immediate turnaround.
To get your Extendovite, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Dr. Joel Wallach, author of the famous health lecture Dead Doctors Don't Lie, presents his newest book, Epigenetics. Epigenetics is required reading for the very survival of Americans, and yes, all of humanity. Modern man has bet on the wrong horse to save them from disease and pestilence. The medical system has failed us fearfully. Join the health revolution. Buy Epigenetics today and receive a free membership to purchase all the products that Dr. Joel Wallach formulated at wholesale prices and receive a free CD of Dead Doctors Don't Lie. All this for only $25 plus shipping and handling. Call 888-311-4311. That's 888-311-4311. Again, that's just $25 plus shipping and handling. And you'll receive the new book, Epigenetics, a free membership, and a free CD of Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Call 888-311-4311. That's 888-311-4311.
Dr. David Krupa. Dr. David Krupa. Hey, call in, dude. We don't have a Skype in for you. 1-800-313-9443. 1-800-313-9443. Hey, Chuck, my co-host for this show just sent me a text message saying, is there a Skype into RBN? And there's not one from what I know. I'd like to introduce you to this gentleman. You know, they cuffed his mouth, right? The attorneys did. He was part of the Valentine's Day raid this year. And, now he's kind of over that. And I'm trying to get him back on to start, co-talking with me and, dealing with the show. And I'd like to introduce you to him because you've met the other people I broadcasted with in the past. Where are you going, Chuck, as a broadcaster? Can I try to, bump you into Texas or bump you back? Because you focus on the national issues, really big, and it's important, but I like Texas.
Well, I was always on the national and the international. I mean, I started We Resistors because I realized, while I was getting a pretty fair followership whenever I was just doing my radio show, The Smith Fix, and had my website, The Smith Fix, it was all about just me. And I realized, wait a minute, we need more voices. The only way we're going to win this is to expand. And the only way to do that is have more voices on air, get more people involved, writing blogs, doing radio shows, going out and battling people once they're educated enough on Facebook, and, get people involved. So I started We Resistors so that I could put hosts on air just like John Statmiller does, and trying to find people who were well-spoken, who understood the issues, who were willing to debate openly on air without using the mute button if they started getting their butt handed to them. And it was a lot of fun, but it was also it's like herding cats, and it's difficult to get people to commit the time to do it. You had a great show on We Resistors, and as soon as I come back in the beginning of this month, I'm going to turn We Resistors back on. It's still there. It's just kind of, like I said, I'm taking a break, and without my being there, there was a little bit of infighting went on, and I said, oh gosh, So gathering hosts again, looking for people that want to come on air once a week, talk about issues, and me, I may try and pay more attention to the Texas situation, because we're not going to stop what's coming. I've been saying for a very long time, we can't stop this, and I've found no one who can tell me how this does not come down to blood and bullets. I hate to say that. I'm not advocating violence ever, in an offensive fashion. But in self-defense, there is no level of violence not called for.
Right.
But I see no one can show me.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, no one has yet been able to tell me how we get, politicians I've asked this at rallies, none of them can give me a cohesive argument. The fact of the matter is we're way too far down this well to come out of it.
Right.
And so
I'm totally all about trying to find a peaceful resolution to this, and I would have to agree with you. I've never heard a cohesive argument to how this can come together. I have hope, and I have, I'm working towards it. I'm working to find that way. It's kind of like, but is that cognitive dissonance on my behalf, right? I don't know. Maybe, I don't want that. I don't want blood and bullets or anything like that.
Well, take a look at where we are today. Our economy is toast. We know it's going to collapse. They're holding it up with, fake dollars as much as they can. But China just kicked us in the teeth, deservedly so. I'm not anti-Chinese by any means. They're tired of the manipulation by the Western central banks. They're tired of all the manipulation of the markets. They're tired of the United States having control over everyone else's economy, including their own to a great extent. We're forcing Putin into war, doing everything we can to start a war with Russia. These politicians need someone to point to when the wheels come off, otherwise we're going to look at them. And so they have no choice but to put us in a war footing, a hot war. Otherwise, the Americans are going to turn on this corrupt government. And to avoid that, they will take us to war. And when we go to war, I want enough people aware what the war is about, that we don't pick up arms against the very people that we have provoked into war. I hate to say this, folks, and people are going to get really shocked. America needs to be, in its present form, needs to be destroyed if we're ever going to have peace in this world. Because we're under the thumb of the central banks and Israel. And Israel is a mad dog, just plain an out-of-control mad dog, the government of Israel. I don't use the word Jew, but Netanyahu is insane, and he will light the world on fire, for his religion, and his idea of power. But when the wheels come off, we get back to the militia. If the militias look at it like, okay, when the wheels come off, who's going to help him? Who's going to help whom?
Mm-hmm. And I've gone through those, the little permutations too. And, there's all sorts of wheels come off scenarios that are so possible today. The financial collapse, this and that. And it's just everywhere. And Yeah, so let's go back to one of the things, our first conversation that I had with you. I remember, talking to you back in 2011 or something like that when we were talking about prepping. And I think you mentioned prepping your neighborhood and prepping the people around you. And I'm like, I was thinking the same thing. I can stock my cans of, food, and I can have my dehydrated this and that and whatever. But if the environment around me isn't prepared, which it isn't, it is not, right? And that's why I do this broadcasting. I broadcast out to Republic Broadcasting. I broadcast any way I can to reach the folks in town, to reach the people that are listening and paying attention, to try to get to them. Then maybe they can reflect off somewhere else. And you've always had that kind of prepping mentality of, you're not I have a whole bunch of stuff, gotta hide it, you tell your neighbors you work that direction, which is kind of important to me, your direction. That's one of the reasons I like you so much.
Well, I wrap my prepper philosophy up in a video called "You Can't Hide Prepper, So It's Time to Lead." I'm not a big one on this idea of running to the woods or out to the country, just you and your family. If you don't have somebody to stay awake 24/7 during the acute, you're just a target. Somebody sitting 100 yards away, pop, pop, they own everything you have. I'm more comfortable in I call it a redneck neighborhood, down here in Crowley, Texas. People in a neighborhood with people with calluses on their hands, and letting them know. I don't hide that I'm a prepper. I also tell them, look, I will help you. Now, I've been blessed that I've been able to pack away over the years a pretty fair amount of food. Nobody's going to stay fat. Everybody's going to lose weight. But if I can help my neighbors, they're not going to be shooting at me. The guy who's dangerous is a guy you stick a gun in his face and say, get off my property, when he has hungry children. That's a very bad idea.
Okay. And on the same lines, check this out. The Texas National has just appointed a new director of communication. His name's Chris Kenny. And he has a little bit of a write-up over there at texnat.org. And they say that one of the people that they're trying to target, man, this is so cliche, is the youth, right? And I'm going, man, I hear these people going, we want to go after the millennials and this and that and this and that, But we've got this whole nation of gimmies that, food card is the norm, right? Working for minimum wage, and then a food card equals my life and live at mom's. That happens a lot. What about those guys? We can't prep for them. They can't even prep for themselves. They see that, we don't have enough money to deal with that. The government is their parent, right?
Right.
What do we do with that?
That's why I like the neighborhood concept, because if it gets bad, the fall of Egypt was a good example of the scenario that I would try and employ. The neighborhoods, the police were even looting. So the neighborhoods blocked their streets with vehicles and had armed men guarding the neighborhood. Neighborhoods came together to protect their neighborhoods during the collapse of Egypt. Another one of America's creations. We destroy everybody. And so, but during that acute time, that acute period of time, now the United States is acute, in my opinion, could run a couple of years. It could run as long as a couple of years rather than just a few months. I don't buy the few months thing, because we have to thin out the idiots too much. Too many of them are going to have to starve off and die. But that concept, if they can't get to my house, to kill me and steal my prepper stuff, because my neighbors know we're working together, and we just block the streets.
Right.
And so many calories a day, and we go out and we do whatever we have to. People will get creative whenever they have to. Either that or we all die.
Right. Well,
if we're going to die, at least do it in your own. If you're going to die, at least do it on your own porch rather than on the run.
They're going to try to get onto your porch, or at least maybe I'm wrong. Because when you look at these collapse scenarios, right, and of course the financial collapse is Well, it's going to happen. There's no way it can't not happen, right? Does that make sense? It has to happen. Whether it happens this year in a couple, days, as all these experts are, doing, I got to live with next year and trying to figure out how to get to next year. And if it goes this week, then this is the last show that I, am able to reach out to people to tell them, what's going on. But as you see that, I don't have much more time before this segment's over. As you see the collapse happening, I envision my town. It's called Fredericksburg, Texas, and we've got like a main street, and everybody sells tchotchkes to the tourists, and all the lifeblood of this entire thing is selling, plates of food to tourists that come here for God knows who what, to drink wine, to buy thingies, antiques, whatever. And we have two food sources. One food source is a supermarket called H-E-B. Now, H-E-B is supposed to be the disaster preparedness, folks for Fredericksburg, and they're supposed to provide food in case of a tornado or emergency. And do you think that's going to work? And then we have Walmart. Now, Walmart's already in hand with, what is it, Homeland Security. They're going to be distribution points in case they need to be FEMA. So we're going to have this collapse of the system where people can't get food from H-E-B. Well, that's one scenario. And then you have Walmart, who turns not into a Walmart, turns into a government, gimme place. That's the scenario where it gets ugly, Chuck. It's when people have to go to Walmart to sign up for the gimme stuff, and then they get rationed their bread, their sausage, their whatever. And then they go, by the way, we'll give you an extra sausage if you tell me anybody that's hoarding, because we need to go after hoarders. And then they point out that there's this neighborhood over here, and they're all not part of the gimmies. And then all of a sudden you got the Homeland Security or whatever that group is, FEMA, sending their shock troops over to try to take you guys out because you're not sharing. That's what I worry about in that scenario.
Now, when they do that, though, if they hit a prepper out in the country, okay, there's no press, there's no witnesses, there's no anything. If you hit my neighborhood here in Crowley, Texas, you bring in the goon squad, and provided we still have internet contact, and here's a firefight between Homeland Security and a neighborhood that says no, you're not coming in here. That's how we could actually spark the revolution. It's going to take patriots dying. Until Americans are willing to die for their liberty, we're not going to have it. We're going to completely lose it. If we're not willing to stand and die, pick any overreaching in the United States government. When they take someone's property and they give it to a billionaire under eminent domain to build a sports stadium, okay, so that he can be more of a billionaire. If some little old lady had said, no, not a chance, I'm going to sit right here with my gun, you're not taking my house. Okay, and they SWAT teamed the house because someone said no to giving a billionaire their property. Mm-hmm. Eminent domain would have been much more difficult for them to get away with than it is now. Now it's just the norm. But not one American has died fighting for their home against eminent domain, which does not classify it as eminent domain. It classifies as theft. Right. If one American had stood up and said, no, you're going to have to kill me to take my house, and died for it.
Yeah. I know everybody's just kind of soft, right? I'm not in their shoes. I can't, talk about that.
Everybody wants to live, but under what circumstances do you want to live? What circumstances do you want your grandchildren to live under? What kind of legacy are you leaving? I'm going to go into the next world, whatever's there, kicking and screaming and shaking my fists. Not, on my knees being reincarnated as a sheep.
Right.
If there's reincarnation. I'm not
I get where you're coming from. Hey, Chuck, we're almost out of time here. We're going to hit the music, and I'm going to have to get you back on the show. Of course, I'm going to have you back on the show. Cool. You're part of everything that I do.
Well, I'm going to go trolling. I'm going to go troll for Alligator Gar. I'm going to go drag the grandkids around the lake and do a little bit of trolling for Alligator Gar.
Now, we'll see you in person on Saturday, September the 12th. That's the second Saturday of the month out in, what's it called? Cleburne, Texas. I'll send you a message via Facebook to keep reminding you and keep bumping you. But it's going to be a big thing. You know, Freedom Texas will be there. The Republic of Texas folks will be there. You bring your video recorder, bring your whatever. Just bring you.
I will be there. I'm signing up right now. With Freedom Texas, as a matter of fact. I'll be in touch with them.
Oh, yeah? Well, that'll be interesting. Say hi for me.
I shall. Say hey to John Stadtmiller for me.
Okay, I will. Hey, love you, Chuck. We'll catch you next time.
All right,
okay,
brother. Ciao.
Guys. Okay. Well, we got to move along, and I could keep Chuck on for like ever, right? But you know, that's not what a radio show's about. We do have a lot of rabbit trails we need to go down. We have a lot of important voices that need to be heard. Here's the music just hitting on us. We'll be coming back, and I'm going to have Earl from Texas. He's going to be joining me and riding shotgun as we go into the Billy Ford and Peter Richard and the Free Texas Alliance. Is it the Free Texas Alliance? I don't know. We'll find out. Hang on, guys. Coming around the break.
Your money. What is it worth today? A $100 bill in 1913 is worth only $2 today. So now your money is just about worthless, and the Fed will continue printing more and more of it. But what if you could turn it around, $1 at a time, and make your money worth more than it is now? How? By acquiring gold before your paper money is totally worthless. But how can you afford gold at today's prices? By buying it 1 gram at a time. And this is so important because gold is the future. For as little as $65, you can begin trading your almost worthless currency for something real, something you can hold. Carat bars, which keep their value, can be stored securely and are easily accessible, just like a savings account, but a savings account backed by your gold. Carat Bars International, a savings account you can count on. For more information, please click on the Carat Bars banner ad at republicbroadcasting.org. Again, that's the Carat Bars banner ad at republicbroadcasting.org. And start saving now.
Herbal Healer Spring Sale. 500 parts per million colloidal silver. All sizes. COQ10 with hawthorn. Glucosamine chondroitin. Sea cucumber. Colloidal minerals. Superfam and Super Male Plaques. Colon Enhancer. Our top-selling liquid. Cal Mag Vitamin D. MSM Sulfur Capsules. And Elderberry Power Capsules. We also offer certificate correspondence courses in natural medicine. Free memberships and free online newsletters also available at herbalhealer.com. Herbal Healer has been serving the natural medicine industry for 25 years. This is a company you can count on. Visit herbalhealer.com today. herbalhealer.com. That's herbalhealer.com.
Hi, my name is David Merlin from takefromcaesar.us. Income is defined in the tax code. All property is a cost, including labor, according to statute. You're deprived of the provisions of Section 83 whenever you pay an income tax on your compensation. According to Section 83, only the excess over the amount paid is gross income. The government can't so much as provide an interpretation of Section 83 of its own. Get your paradigm shift and understanding today at takefromcaesar.us.
Nice shooting. Hey, that's a sweet AK-47 chest rig. Is that multicam?
Yep, got it from StrikeHardGear.com.
Strike what?
StrikeHardGear.com.
Set your sights on StrikeHardGear.com. Tough, tactical gear for your Soviet-style weapon that's made in the USA. Affordable, plus a no-questions-asked 30-day money-back guarantee and lifetime replacement warranty. StrikeHardGear.com. Go ahead. Pull the trigger.
Chuck Smith, well, is right. Yeah, Chuck is right. You're listening to the Republic of Texas radio show, and when I say Chuck Smith is right, I'm actually pointing to the fact that in order to turn this thing around, we need all sorts of people to actually come into the conversation and to talk and to be able to talk and to articulate themselves. I have Earl in Texas. He's like me. He listens to Republic Broadcasting. He cares. He takes control of his environment around him. Maybe not control, but at least he puts forward the effort to, talk to people. Hey, here we have you on the line, Earl. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. How are you this week?
Well, we're doing pretty fair, and you?
Oh, pretty good. I got this, this big, long lineup here coming up. We've got Billy Ford from the Republic of Texas coming up at the top of the hour, and then, Pete Richards. God, I just confuse people's names all the time. And they're going to be talking about what happened, north of Austin yesterday. I wanted to bring you on early so we can just have a little bit of chit chat before they come on and see what you think about what they're saying. So, but until then, what's important right now? What's going on, Earl?
Well, the important thing is, of course, Texas, regaining her independence, because we're at a point in time that it's unfixable up there, and it's imperative that the people really get down to the brass tacks and at that supper table to start talking about our removal from a system which is really contrary to the principles of liberty. And we're trying to do what we can in our neck of the woods to encourage people to do so.
How do those conversations go in your world? I know how they go in my world. It's kind of like blank stares. Sometimes people say, yeah, that's a great idea for a second.
Yeah, basically the same thing. You do run across some folks like-minded that are, understanding what's happening. But, as a whole, all of us has been conditioned, just like the gentleman had said a few moments ago about eminent domain and building a stadium for somebody. Mm-hmm. That's the removal of people's from their property. Now, of course, the abolition of property rights, the ownership of property, is the eventual destruction of the family. So once you destroy your family unit, there's no real reason for existence, because now you're going to be dumbed down with sports and whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying that's all bad, watching sports or whatever the case may be, but the destruction of the property is the destruction of the family. And,
I know. Let's stop there for a second, because I really, really like that thought, because we've seen the extended family went away in the early 1900s. They brought it into the nucleus family, mom and dad and the kids go away and form mom and dad. And then they showed us how, this generation that's ending right now are ending up being taken care of in nursing homes and whatnot, right? And these guys we call millennials, they're being trained to, not have anybody. They just have the state. It's a screwed up thing, and it does come down to family. But how do we rope those cats back in? There's the music. Let's take the break and come back with Earl in Texas, and we'll bring on our other folks real quick.
Costs are innumerable. Without monetary funding, the valiant efforts of freedom-loving Americans become diminished or outright defeated. We present a solution, the Give Me Liberty Fund. The plan is quite simple. Invite individual Americans to contribute less than $1 a day. These monetary funds are used to promote Liberty Media, organizations, events, candidates,
movements, and speakers. In the spirit of transparency, all expenditures are published. Patriotic business owners provide discounted products and services to Give Me Liberty Fund members. Our greatest strength is in numbers. Go to GiveMeLibertyFund.com and become part of the solution today. GiveMeLibertyFund.com. Participate in the peaceful restoration of the greatest and freest country in the world.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.